Hello, everyone. My name is Charles Yoon. I'm an attorney for the family of the late Christina Yuna Lee. Thank you for coming today and attending the sentencing. I also want to thank all the community organizations, as well as community members and friends, and of course the family, for participating in today's sentencing.
평범한 딸이었어요. 착하고 친구들 관계 좋고 주변의 사람들 같이 어울리는 사람들이 많았고 인기가 좋은 그런 아이였어요. 그리고 늘 유쾌하고 주변에서 이쁘다는 소리도 많이 듣고 그래서 참 그렇게 떠나게 돼서 너무 안타깝습니다. 저희 같은 일을 겪고 나면 당연히 가족들이 힘드니까요. 힘든 거를 잘 이겨내려고 종전에 하던 일을 열심히 하면서 그렇게 열심히 살고 있습니다. 이게 프리바겐으로 이미 정해진 형량을 선고한 거기 때문에 오늘 특별한 그런 감정은 없고요. 이미 이제 들어서 알고 있었기 때문에 법에 따라서 중형을 받는 거는 당연한 일이고 저희 가족 입장에서는 범인이 20년을 받든 30년을 받든 종신형을 받든 그런 형량보다는 이렇게 죽은 애가 그냥 그립고 안타깝고 한 마음뿐이지 오늘 그 형량으로 인해서 특별하게 이렇게 느낀 거는 별로 없습니다. 우리 가족한테 이런 일이 일어나리라고는 꿈에도 생각해 본 적이 없었는데요. 어느 날 이런 일이 닥쳤습니다. 그 배경에는 당시 이제 코로나 팬데믹으로 인해서 노숙자들이 그냥 많이 풀려나 가지고 뉴욕시티를 돌아다니는 그런 와중에 저희 딸뿐만 아니라 많은 아시안 또 여자분들이 피해를 많이 받은 걸로 알고 있습니다. 해서 이제 좀 팬데믹도 지나고 사회가 좀 안정됨에 따라서 그런 노숙자 문제도 잘 관리돼서 노숙자에 의한 이렇게 억울한 피해가 없기를 바라고요. 다른 가족들한테도 어느 집이나 일어날 수 있는 일에 대해서 좀 더 경각심을 가지고 좀 조심을 하셔야 되겠다 이런 말씀드리겠습니다. 감사합니다.
I'd like to introduce first father of late Christina Yuna Lee, Mr. Assamad Lee, who has a statement to make. I believe his statement is also used in writing, so we can distribute that after the conference. So first I'd like to invite Mr. Assamad Lee to the microphone. Thank you for giving us a lot of information today. I will read the family statement. 2.5 years have passed since my lovely daughter Christina Yuna Lee's life was brutally cut short, and today there is finally the court sentence of the murderer who pleaded guilty. The murder was horrific, and no amount of sentence can be compared to Christina, who died unjustly, or to the family who are living with the consequences in unbearable pain. I think that there are two factors which contributed to this tragic incident.
happened to my family. First, New York State bail reform law. Due to this law, various crimes were committed at the time. A criminal who should be in prison was instead wandering around the city and committing other crimes. This is what happened in this case. Christina was brutally and viciously murdered by the murderer, who should have been in jail. As a side effect of the law, criminals who should not have been released were released, resulting in countless crimes being committed again. The political world orbit lately passed an amendment in the New York State Assembly in April 2022, 2 months after the Christina's incident, led by Governor McCall. I believe that the leading political and social forces who enacted this law cannot avoid responsibility. The second, the decisive cause of Christina's death occurred at the scene of the incident. There was an inadequate response by the police who arrived. The first mission of New York City and its police is to protect the safety of its citizens. While the police who arrived in front of the building in 2 and 3 minutes after the court, the police did not gain entrance to the scene of the crime until 1 hour and 20 minutes had passed since arriving at the scene. In the meantime, Christina suffered a cruel death, being cut over 40 times by the criminal's knife. Furthermore, the police have not expressed any regret to my family. Now that the court's ruling on criminal behavior has come to an end, the police must disclose all information regarding the incident, and if there was an incorrect response, the relevant person must take appropriate responsibility. My family is currently pursuing a lawsuit against New York City, but what my family really wants is not compensation. Instead, we want Christina's memory to be remembered and to be prevent others having a similar fate. That is why we are asking the New York City mayor to name one homeless shelter in New York City as the Christina Yuna Lee Memorial Shelter. This is based on the fact that culprit of the incident was homeless. It will contribute to prevent recurrence of similar incidents in the future, and it will be a way to choose and honor Christina's soul and memory. Dear Coach, thank you for all sincere condolences from citizens immediately after the incident. Additionally, I would like to take this opportunity to express my special gratitude to all those who provided us with material help via GoFundMe.com. We would also like to thank ADA Christina Yuna for her efforts in prosecuting the case without wavering. Lastly, my family hopes that you keep supporting us. This time to name a homeless shelter as the Christina Yuna Lee Memorial Shelter. We are very grateful for your support. Thank you.
너무 가슴 아픈 일이고 2년이 넘는 세월 동안 조속히 처리되지 않았던 것이 아마 절차상의 문제였지 않았나 싶은데 맥시멈 형을 내려준 거는 그렇다고 죽은 사람은 돌아올 수 없지만 이런 일이 다시 나타나지 않게끔 또 특히 이것이 우리 커뮤니티, 에이시안 커뮤니티에서 나타난 거에 대해서 다신 재발되지 않은 그런 경각심이 이루어지는 계기가 됐으면 좋겠다 하는 생각이 듭니다. 퍼블릭 세이프티 문제와 또 멘탈 프로블럼을 해서 이 사건이 지연되면서 범인이 체포를 거부했고 또 도망가려고 했던 사건들 이런 것을 볼 때에 우리 전체적인 그 세이프티 문제와 멘탈 디스오더에 대한 것이 너무 만연된 그래서 제대로 범죄를 처벌할 수 없다는 것에 대해서 참 애석하게 느끼고 있고 또 우리가 다른 주에 비해서 아직은 뉴욕이 범죄만 안전지대라고 하지만은 언제 보장할 수 있겠습니까? 그리고 특히 우리 에이시안들이 코리안들이 또 여성인 경우에 약자이기 때문에 범죄자들의 표적이 될 수 있다는 것에 대해서 어쨌든 현실적으로 생각을 해야 되는 것이 우리에게는 또 지혜가 아닌가 생각이 듭니다. 유족께서 원하시는 것이 돌아가신 분은 돌아올 수 없지만 그래도 그분을 기념하는 지금 시정부를 상대로 해서 민사소송이 있는데 그것을 처리하면서 특정 퍼블릭 퍼실리티를 크리스티나 이름으로 해서 이 사건에 대한 중요성을 각인시키고 이 도시에서 그런 일이 다시 나타나지 않는 것에 대해서는 전적으로 도와야 되겠다 생각을 합니다. 그것이 DHS든 아니면 파크 디파트먼트든 그렇게 해서 좀 적절한 장소에 호메모리 될 수 있는 계기가 됐으면 또 유족들이 바라는 것이 뭔지 거기에 대해서 최대한에 돕도록 하겠습니다.
Christina's death and the horrific violence of her killing would have been devastating no matter what. But the fact that it occurred on February 13th, 2022 added a whole other dimension. By that point, the country was undergoing, our beloved city was undergoing a massive spike in anti-Asian hate and violence. And because of that, even though this case was not prosecuted as a hate crime, right, that connection in time to what we as Asian New Yorkers and Asian Americans were experiencing, and also the fact that she, as an Asian New Yorker, died a violent and horrific death, one that was provoked by nothing she did, nothing at all. All of that shocked us, struck a raw nerve, unnerved us all over once again. Recall what New York City was like at that time of her passing. Asian Americans, in particular Asian New Yorkers, all of our friends, our family, ourselves, right? We were afraid. We were deeply afraid. And many of us had stopped going out at night. Many of us had stopped going on subways, on public transportation, right? Many of us stopped speaking our first language in public, right? And so at that time, we were doing all of these things out of a deep fear. And that's the insidious harm of hate crimes. They terrorize communities because the truth is that despite all of those efforts to avoid an attack, the truth is that there's little to nothing that community members can do to avoid these attacks. These attacks, hate crimes happen simply because of the color of your skin, the color of your hair, the shape of your eyes, the shape of your nose, things that you shouldn't have to change and often cannot change. So what can be done about hate crime? Abney is here today to remind us all that one tool at our disposal is the rule of law and our criminal courts. The Asian American Bar Association has been helping New York City and victims and communities confronted by this crisis since the pandemic began. And one of our many efforts has been court watching. And so today, we have been doing this several times already, but we come out and we support victims, we support their loved ones in court. The courts, the laws, the police, the local prosecutor, they work on behalf of every community in this great city, or at least they're supposed to. And that includes our communities. They are our courts, our laws, our prosecutors, and our police. To ensure that they work on behalf of our interests, we must insist that they do so. We must be vigilant. We must participate. We must advocate. We must engage and bear witness to achieve that justice and meaningful redress for ourselves.
While the sentencing of Assamad Nash for the tragic and senseless murder of Christina brings a small measure of justice to her family, it also serves as a stark reminder that the ongoing violence that our community faces. We as a community must remain committed to standing against hate and violence and advocating for the safety and justice for all. Well, what has happened to Christina was tragic. Let us never forget and continue to honor Christina's memory by working together to overcome the hatred and violence that we face today. Thank you.
I'll just say a few words. Christina Yuna Lee was only 35 years old when she was brutally murdered by Assamad Nash. And today's sentence, unfortunately, will not bring her back. But what we hope is that it brings some semblance of closure to her family, who will continue to bear the pain of her loss. And we hope that it sends a message to the rest of the community that these types of violent crimes and attacks against Asian Americans will not be tolerated, and their perpetrators will not be shown leniency. Asian Americans in this city continue to fear for their safety, and these attacks must stop. We thank the Manhattan District Attorney's Office, District Attorney Bragg, for obtaining today's sentence, but we urge his office and other prosecutors across the city, as well as law enforcement, to remain vigilant and to zealously prosecute these violent crimes against Asian Americans. We also encourage our elected officials to rethink, reconsider, and challenge any plans that they have to bring additional homeless shelters into predominantly Asian American populated areas to hopefully prevent these types of attacks in the future. And we hope that the city will honor Mr. Lee's wishes and memorialize Christina's memory with a homeless shelter in the area. And finally, I just want to say that an attack against one Asian American, as you can see, is an attack against all of us. And we will remain united against hate and violence against one of our own. Thank you.
I think this incident really touched a lot of us in the community, particularly the timing of it. It was shortly after Michelle Go, the incident in the subway, and just the nature of this crime, just hearing about how it happened. And she was only 35 years old. She could have been she could have been a friend of mine or someone that I could have related to. Had a promising career from what I understand. And so seeing that as a whole, I think it just touched a lot of our community, because that could have been you, that could have been your sister, that could have been your daughter, that could have been a friend. And so I think that's particularly why you see such a turnout today from all of the AAPI community. I mean, I think particularly during, after the COVID pandemic, there was a lot of fear for Asian Americans and particularly females. My wife was pregnant at the time, and I would not allow her to take a subway. And I think that's not just a story for myself, but for a lot of other people. And so, when this incident, when crime happened, again, just the brutal nature of it, You know, you could have just seen, it could have been any one of us just coming home after a night out with your friends. So I think it just had a big impact in all of the community. We will get inquiries about hate crimes and being victim to certain violent crimes. We do try to connect them with the right community service organization or with our contacts at the district attorney's office. For example, Assistant District Attorney Hannah Yu is the Chief of Hate Crimes at the Manhattan District Attorney's Office. We would often reach out to her to connect her with the victims. For this event, we try to gain support. We bring support and bring the community together by alerting, you know, CAGNY, you know, the media like yourself and others to just bring attention. But yeah, that's sort of what we've been doing. My understanding is this is the maximum that he was able to get with the plea bargain that he made with the district attorney's office. So I'm glad that the judge did not exercise her discretion to be any more lenient, because I know that often happens, especially with people like Nash who might have a mental disorder. But I'm just very glad that he got what the law, you know, the maximum penalty under the law.
Today is a very important day, especially for the community to come out to show Christina Yuna Lee's family that we support them 100%. Things like this should not be happening in our world, but unfortunately it does. But as a community, we need to show the legal system that we will not stand for anything like this to happen ever again. As said before, something like this that happens to one Asian, it impacts all of us. And it's not just Asian, because crimes like this should not affect anybody. And so I'm here because I want to support the family, but I also want to let our justice system know that our community will not stand for this ever again. To the parents of Christina Yuna Lee, my deepest condolences to the family. Christina, though I don't know Christina, however, what I've learned about her, she was a very special person, and she should be remembered. And I hope that they will name a homeless shelter in her memory so that her memory lives on, and that people will see the beauty of who she was, and that things like this should not happen again.
Well, this case was definitely a shock to the Asian American community because it was yet another horrific homicide of an Asian New Yorker who did absolutely nothing, right, to provoke, to instigate, who didn't deserve that at all. What did it do to change things? I think it helped to really, again, unify all of us in working hard against hate and violence. And so today, with the big turnout at court, that was one example, that motivation, that inspiration to unify, to be present, and to demand justice for these harms and for this suffering. I think that case helped galvanize this big effort, was that we needed to really make sure that our police and our prosecutors, our court system, that they were really paying attention to, right, this violence, these attacks that were happening against Asian New Yorkers. In some cases, they did a very good job, but not in all cases. And there were victims and communities that were not being heard, that could not get arrests to happen, that we're not getting decent investigations, and that we're not getting a lot of input into the outcomes of prosecutions. And there shouldn't be any of those. And so we at the Bar Association made sure as lawyers to help amplify their voices, to demand that arrests were getting made, right? And we intervened because we have that legal expertise and that legal know-how, and we want to support victims. So still today, if folks are experiencing right harms and they want to have a more meaningful response from the police or from prosecutors, please reach out to us. We're here to help you. So a number of efforts that the Bar Association has done to try to help victims, right, include court watching, include providing assistance to navigate the police, navigate the prosecutors. But in addition to that, we also at the Bar Association are finalizing a video production where we have invited victims and their families to share with us, right, their memories. And that includes Christina Yuna Lee's father. We hope that this video will be made available at the end of this year. We've also been advocating for changes in our hate crime laws. So the New York State hate crime laws, right, are pretty old, and from time to time they get revised. We need to do more of that to make sure that people who are motivated by anti-Asian hate and hostility are prosecuted for that. Right now the laws are a little bit tough to actually meet the standard. They don't really speak to anti-Asian hate, right? And so because of that, we need to get our laws to be reflective of this big community that the city has, and to include us. And so lots of efforts. It takes a lot of efforts, but we are really privileged to work with our communities and to do this together.